And that needs changing direction. But you will see, instead of demanding others to be ethical, when we decide to be ethical, how much relaxation it gives you, how much it makes your life much happier, more calm and more peaceful, when you decide to be ethical. And in order to be ethical, again, you need awareness. You need to see the negative emotion that makes you act in an unethical way. You need to be able to pause, make the step out of it, apply certain antidotes, change perspectives, so that you can transform the emotion, not to see it as an enemy, but to actually to see it as a friend, for you to learn and to see its nature as being kind of impermanent, changing moment by moment, and having no real substance. These are the steps that we work with negative emotions. What is her name? What is your name?
Daphne.
Daphne. Do you see now these steps? When you said, I'm missing here the methods to deal with it. Okay? Can you see it? Pause. Put borders. Saying, I will not say anything now, I will not hit, I will not do that. Do something also. You see, like the antidotes are, when it's anger or aggression, distract yourself. Go for a run if you like to run. Go for, as a kind of intermediate antidote. It's not a direct antidote. Go for a run if you need to go. Go into your garden, have a cup of coffee, have a beer, whatever. If you see it as an antidote to calm down, not as the ultimate solution, then it's very helpful. Usually it's thoughts. Thoughts about, oh, something is coming back. Thoughts about, I don't know, how the other person feels, or something like that. Maybe tomorrow we look at, when we start to get aggressive, how you do. You know, also, when we change the perspective, to also see our part in the whole situation there. Yeah, exactly.
Because it happened to me with my PhD.
Uh-huh.
Someone that my colleague, she took my work when I left university.
Yeah.
And because I was a mother and I didn't have time to do the paperwork,
and
so she did it. She took all the
credit. Yeah.
And I was of course angry in the beginning.
Of course.
And then I took responsibility because I didn't do it. I was in another. So it's a lot of work. That's what I do. Now I'm not anger. We are good friends, actually.
Yeah.
But it's a long.
It's a long process. And this long process becomes of the innate view of this is not just, because we don't have a direct experience of karma. Yeah. We don't see that we threw the boomerang and we done it to somebody else in the past. Okay, so love is wishing somebody to be happy. The near enemy, as it is called, something that masquerades as love, is an attached love who invests, who wants something back, who does things because you want to be loved back. This is better than hatred, but you set yourself up for disappointment and being hurt. And then the opposite of love is this kind of mind who cannot bear to see the happiness of the other person. Okay? When we come to compassion, it goes one step a little bit further. Like compassion can feel the same, but is the wish or wanting others to be free from suffering. And compassion hurts. And compassion doesn't always come in the right moment, because sometimes we lose control. We start crying when we see something, or when we really understand what it is. Yeah. So the tears of compassion can be a real understanding of how the other person feels. But it can also be the frustration about us being helpless in that situation. Yeah, so with the compassion, very often we go too far. Like we go into the shoe of the others, but we stay there. We're not giving the shoes back. Yeah. So also, like in German, you have two different words for compassion. One is Mitleid and one is Mitgefühl. So Mitgefühl, that's a good thing. You feel with the other person. And you feel as if the suffering is your own. If the suffering is your own, what do you do when you suffer?
Trying to find an action.
We try to find a solution. So we try to help the other person to find a solution. If they accept it, fine. If they don't accept it, it's also fine. And then if nothing helps, what do we do when we suffer? Because all of us suffer from time to time. Huh? You have to speak really loud, because one of my other old age signs is I don't hear well anymore.
We wait for it to pass.
We wait for it to pass, meaning we accept. Yeah? We accept it. We're not kind of going into dramas about it and all this. It's funny to see how we are very capable of accepting our own suffering, but when it's about suffering of others, there's a big drama coming. Why? Why? Because we want to be the one solving their problems. Because it gives us status, it gives us, we feel good about ourselves. So what we have to learn also is to let the heart remain open, to feel the hurt, but then to go into that also, to see the nature of that hurt. Why am I hurting? It's her suffering. Why am I taking it? Because the other word, the other German word for compassion is Mitleid, meaning suffering with. So suffering with is no point. Really being able, again, to get these antennas out and really being able to put yourself into the shoes of your daughter. It's okay if we take that? Because some other people might recognize something. To really be in the shoes of your daughter, to understand what it means not to be able to accept. To understand what it means to have this crappy mind and absolutely no method how to transform it, then you also let go and you let her in peace and you get out of her way from time to time so she can relax. To really get these kind of antennas out, see, how can I make her relax? Because relaxation is really, it's the key for so many things. Spaciousness. Maybe forget about the mind relaxed, because again, relaxed for us is kind of like this, yeah? But when I talk about relaxation is to make the mind really spacious. And that can happen with awareness, when you relax the body and you stay with your breath and you let go of all the thoughts. We will make a break in 5 minutes, so it's okay. If you are getting hot or cold or something, there's always something wrong. This is samsara, So what we mistake it for sometimes is pity. Yeah? Compassion, you are fully with the other person. And fully with the other person also means that you start to understand they're not ready to accept the help. That is being fully with the other person. So you stop nagging. And maybe you can relax the person when you agree with them that, yes, this is a difficult situation. I wish I could help you, but I don't really know how. Do you have an idea how to help, Pity is sometimes this haughty kind of thing, I would know what to do in that situation. Good thing I'm not in that situation. That is the separation between you, me, I, and then your object of what you think, compassion. Yeah, and when it's real compassion, so that you can bear it without it destroying you. You know about karma. You know that, karma, okay. You know about causes. You know as long as the causes are there. You know as long as this daughter is looking in the wrong place for happiness, she will not be happy. And then we're letting go. The same way as a good, psychotherapist who sees a woman wearing totally the wrong shoes for her backache, but she treats her. She massages her and treats her and puts the virtue of her back in the right place. the woman next time comes again with the shoes, and again and again and again. You would still help her. You would not get desperate. You would not hurt, but you'd also understand, okay, I can help her a little bit, but next time she comes, if she's still wearing her shoes, she will still have the pain. By understanding suffering can end, but only when we end the causes. And what are the causes for suffering? Sarah, what are the causes for suffering? Ego grasping, the first one. Identifying with something that is not there. Excluding others, having this dualistic view, I and others. Out of that comes clinging to whatever is good for this ego that doesn't even exist, and very quickly wants something different, yeah, and pushing away and being aggressive with anything that is not, that it doesn't want, and believing firmly in the existence of that I. That is at the root of suffering. Through that we create negative actions, we harm others, then the results come, then the suffering comes. The more suffering, the more anger, the more desire, the more aversion, the more this. If we would have less suffering in the world, people would be much happier. So we don't need more happiness, we need less suffering. And in order for people to be able to accept their suffering, they need a view so that we can practice patience.
I have two questions. One is compassion. When you
Yeah.
have compassion for another,
Yeah.
but you recognize yourself through the other, so you are now connected with yourself, this is not compassion any longer, right? Only when you can identify without yourself suffering, it is compassion.
Well, as long as you don't make their suffering your own, because that's what we very often make.
That's exactly
Yeah.
the point.
Like the pain of not being able to help, that is my pain. That is not the pain of your daughter. Your daughter doesn't suffer because you don't help her, as you said. Yeah? So this very often, that's the pain that we feel when we can't help. And this is why it's so difficult for us to be with people that we can't help. And even therapists, I feel it, when because my body is not so good. Why is it not so good? Because I'm too lazy to do exercises. So don't come and tell me I should do exercises. I'm not going to do them. You telling me that I should do them is just making me feel guilty, okay? So I know I'm too lazy, I accepted it, therefore I have to accept the pain. But then the therapists want to help me, and then sometimes say, okay, let's try. And I feel how they desperately want me to say, yes, it helps, it's much better. But sometimes I just say it just so that they leave me in peace. Yeah. So that's not real compassion. You try, it works great, but also you let the other be. If it doesn't help, it doesn't help. You try. Yeah. And compassion is like knowing the causes. Knowing that it has my pains in the body, it has causes because I'm not taking good care of the body. That's the cause for it. So as long as I'm not changing anything, which I probably will not do in this life, I will have pain in the body, no matter how much you treat me. So, So let me give you maybe the definition of it. Compassion thus refers to the compassion happens when one feels with the other person and one feels an urge to help. Yeah? So it's not just this, but then it can also go into emotional compassion, too emotional. Yeah? So again, you identify with the other person, and it's more, you hurt more almost than the other person. Yeah? A result which one needs to avoid is sentimentality. Compassion thus refers to an unselfish, detached emotion which gives one a sense of urgency in wanting to help others. From a Buddhist perspective, helping others to reduce their physical or mental suffering is very good, but the ultimate goal is to extinguish all suffering by stopping the process of rebirth and the suffering that automatically comes with living a samsaric life. As long as we have these wrong views, clinging to a self and cherishing it, we will do negative actions which then result in suffering. Direct compassion makes the heart quiver, wish for removal of suffering. Indirect, it then makes, So direct compassion sees a lot of things. It sees the causes, it sees I can't help, but the heart remains vibrant and open. But the other compassion, then when it's attached compassion because it's my daughter, that if that would be somebody else, you would still feel something, but you would be able to let go. You would still continue, like the therapist, you would still continue to help, but you would be able to let go that you cannot help. Yeah. So this compassion that we have is very much kind of, again, very, very restricted to the people that we call mine. So this kind of emotional compassion creates grief, and we are emotionally overwhelmed. So there's different types of compassion. One compassion that sees the other person, you're the subject, the other person is the object. That's already good, the wish to help, but very quickly there we get overwhelmed because we don't have the ways to help. And we only see the suffering of suffering, the suffering of pain. We don't see the suffering of change and the all-pervasive suffering, right? So then a more extensive compassion is when we start to see that actually all beings are undergoing some kind of suffering, because none of us has what we really want. Or do we have somebody here who can claim, I all the time have exactly what I want? So you see, we have all this technology, we have all this education, all the universities, all the medical systems, all the wonderful foods, and still, and we make all this effort to be lastingly happy, and still we are not. Well, isn't that pitiful? Yeah. So instead of becoming desperate and trying to kill yourself, because in Buddhist terms doesn't help, because you're going to be reborn, so don't commit suicide. It's really no good. You just increase the knots that we already have. It's not an option. It's really not an option. So then we say, okay, I want to start to work with the causes, not just with the suffering. So see, only working with the suffering of pain is like taking painkillers. It feels good for a short while, but then the pain is coming back. Yeah? So we need to work with the causes, and the causes are our wrong views and our lack of love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Our being very narrow in whom we love and whom we have compassion for, and our being very, very much self-concerned. Yeah? So these are the real causes, so we start to work with them if we want to be free from suffering. So, for example, then also has suffering for the one also has compassion for the so-called people that we think have no problems and that we're actually jealous that they're so rich and so healthy and so this and so that. We see, oh, they also will fall into old age and death and all this. So we start to open up there. And then when you are very, very realized and your I, yourself is totally gone, and you are in that space, then you have what is called, when they talk about Chandresik, the Buddha of compassion, they say that he has unobjectified compassion. You don't need an object anymore. Yeah, he's there. That's Vajrasattva, he's there. It's the manifestation of a Buddha's, of an awakened mind's compassion in a form, given it form. Yeah, so that's the Buddha of compassion. So then one says, if you're fully awakened, you have what is called unobjectified compassion. That means, same as a mother. A mother has for her child this kind of, she doesn't really, how to say, the wish, the compassion is always there. Yeah, and it comes into action when there is need for action. But it's always there, sleeping. Yeah, so in a Buddha's mind, in an awakened being's mind, that wish for others to be free, that wish for others to be from suffering is always there. And for us, when we hear that, we think, oh my gosh, how can they be happy? Isn't it? How can they not be overwhelmed? Because they know suffering has causes. As long as the causes are there, they will suffer. But they also know that suffering doesn't exist from its own side because it has causes. That's why it can be eliminated. So they wait. They're patient. They're ready to help when the other person is able to receive the help, and as long as they don't receive the help, they step back and have this benevolent attitude towards all beings. So these are the different kinds of compassion. Our compassion is very emotional, very restricted to my children, my this, my that, my country, my people who have the same religion, whatever. Yeah, so again, in the meditation that we'll do, we'll try to expand it to all beings. I don't know if you noticed, in the meditation that we did before lunch, with this last one, when I went into may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, whether you felt, just a thought, to really expand the mind by trying to encompass it, all beings, just that. You don't need to do anything. Don't go into, but how should I do it? Just a thought to stretch the mind so that it becomes spacious. So we'll have a half an hour break again. It's 10 to 5, so we'll have a break until 20 past. You come here and then we do a short reflection on compassion. So as you go out into the break, if you experience happy feelings, then you think may all beings experience these happy feelings. If you feel tired, which you are, I can see, and full of pain and totally bored and whatever, then you think may nobody experience that. And you try to see what happens, because otherwise again you're locked in your own misery. You think, okay, may my suffering now become the cause for others being free from suffering. May all beings be free from that suffering. Then you see what happens with your misery. Because you're not the only mother also who experiences that. Okay, and we remain in silence if possible. Enjoy your break, relax. Whatever you didn't understand, don't worry. This thing lasts how long? 7 years? It will be, we'll talk about compassion again and again and again. Let go of the thought that you have to understand everything now. I need to let go of the thought that I have to make you understand everything now. So we both let go. Can we agree? Phew. Thank you. Hiya.